views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime. Today, we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough, as well as across New York City. Coming up on today's show, we go front and center, discussing how one organization is adapting their services to meet the needs of foster children, particularly during this pandemic. And then a little bit later, we're going to learn about the current challenges for seniors and how Riverdale Senior Services is providing assistance. And guess what? It's National Carrot Cake Day. And guess what? We're going to sit down with a representative from a staple bakery right here in our borough of the Bronx. More details a little bit later on in the show. And then finally, we'll learn more about the support of the Office of Veteran and Military Resources that's actually providing to students at Bronx Community College. And then also we'll discuss how a not-for-profit organization is trying to end the cycle of homelessness by empowering individuals and families to renew their lives with health, homes, and jobs. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. We've got a great show and we're officially open. I'm Daren Jaime, and you are watching Open, and we're thankful for you watching with us today. Today is Wednesday, February 3rd, and yes, Open is a live interactive program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network as Open is broadcast live simultaneously on the MNN channel. We encourage you also to stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at BronxNet TV. And then also, you know how to stay connected to us on the website at bronxnet.org. Well, a lot has certainly gone on throughout the course of this past week. Can't take you through everything, but we can take you through a few things with our Bronx updates. The Dominguez Expert Martial Arts Taekwondo School located in the Bronx is at risk to closure due to the losing profits during the pandemic. Our BronxNet reporter Sanji Lopez brings us this story right now.
For the last 26 years, Dominguez Experts Martial Arts, located at 283 East 204th Street in the Bronx, has offered training for all ages. The school is run by Master Leandro Dominguez, a Dominican martial artist with over 40 years of experience. Dominguez first opened his school in 1994 and has taught thousands of youth hailing from the Bronx and beyond ever since.
I think this is really, really good for the kids because really mentally, it works for them. I see that most of the students that come to this school, or not only this one, but I think that martial art is really important for the kids because when they go to college, they have another way of see things.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, DEMA has experienced a tremendous loss of income. In an effort to save it, Master Dominguez held classes at Mosholu Parkway during the summer. However, that didn't last long with frigid temperatures. As a result, volunteers like Bronx parent Judith created a GoFundMe to raise funds in hopes of saving the school.
The parents amongst ourselves wanted to help, but it just wasn't enough. And I knew that someone had to take the reins and try to do something. So I did start a GoFundMe. First one I've never even tried before, but we did have a lot of children give whatever money they could. Some great neighbors were helpful, but unfortunately it wasn't enough, and it continues to add up now that the school is open, and unfortunately a lot of kids aren't coming to class because their parents are still afraid, of course, and it'll take some time, but I would like to see the school stay open so that when the parents and the children are ready to come back, this door can remain open.
Dominguez learned the arts through Grandmaster Jun Rhee, who introduced Taekwondo to the United States in the 1950s and trained the likes of Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali. Today, Dominguez emulates his teacher through his own philosophy while improving the physical, mental, and emotional abilities of his students and providing a safe space to Bronx youth through the art of Taekwondo.
This is like a second home. Everyone needs another family, another place to come to learn to build themselves and build their future in a positive way, not only physically but mentally. This also builds a lot of confidence and brings you to another place where you feel comfortable.
Dema was ineligible for a PPP loan due to not having a set payroll. Graduating students returned to voluntarily train newcomers. And through the years, Dominguez has upkept the school using his own funds. Parents say that he's also helped his students attend classes despite their inabilities to pay.
We opened this school in 1994, and basically for the community.
As a mother here, to see how it has affected him and how it's helped his successes, I would love to see the school remain just for other children and other parents to experience the same thing that he's experienced.
Dominguez Experts Martial Arts continues to offer a variety of safe, socially distanced classes for any skill level, ages 5 and up. To learn more and register, you can contact Dema at 718-654-1430 or demastudiobx@gmail.com. Also, follow them on social media at Dema Studios BX. Reporting for BronxNet, Sanji Lopez.
And thank you, Sanji. And that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. Of course, we'll follow this story and more. We want you to stay with us because Open continues right after this. Welcome back. The Court-Appointed Special Advocates of New York City is a not-for-profit organization that's providing one-on-one advocacy to help children and youth in New York City's foster care grow up in safe, permanent, as well as loving homes where they can thrive. CASA NYC plays a crucial role in assisting New York's overburdened family court system meet the needs of one of the city's most vulnerable populations. Now, for many abused children, a dedicated CASA NYC advocate may be the one constant presence in their life, even the only adult who actually cares for them. And joining us now to share a little bit more about the details is the executive director of the Court-Appointed Special Advocates of New York City, Kerry Moles. And Kerry, good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Daren.
Glad to have you sharing. And Kerry, share with us a little bit about this here, because when we talk about court-appointed special advocates, let's talk about what is a court-appointed special advocate.
Sure. A court-appointed special advocate is a volunteer, typically. At CASA NYC, we have about 300 volunteers. They come from all walks of life, New York City residents, and they are trained. They go through a 35-hour training process, and they're supervised by social workers and attorneys and other master's level mental health counselors who are on our staff. And their job is essentially to work one-on-one with a young person, a child or a young adult who's in foster care, to help them navigate the foster care system, to make sure that their needs are being met while they're in the system. And really our mission is to help get them out of the foster care system as quickly as possible, because we know that foster care is really not a good situation for anyone, and kids are best do best when they're at home with their parents or with other people who love them and care for them.
Yeah. And share with us a little bit about how it's actually been impacted by COVID, because when you have a foster care system that relies heavily on interaction, let's talk about how this virtual has impacted the work that you do.
Sure. Well, so when the courts shut down in March, they shut their doors physically in March. The family courts obviously did everything they could to pivot to a virtual format really quickly, but that was challenging. And so what it meant initially was that for a long time, the courts were only hearing emergency cases. So that was typically a child where there was a new allegation of abuse or neglect, and there was a question of whether that child needed to be removed from their home. And the other cases, the more routine cases, which are really, I say routine, but they're very important cases, got adjourned. And so there has been, while the courts for several months, they were only hearing emergency cases. They have started to hear other cases, non-emergency cases, but there's obviously a huge backlog. And what's happened is that kids, for one thing, kids who have been in foster care have gotten stuck there for longer than they probably would have been otherwise. When a child might have been scheduled to be reunified with a parent, or be adopted, or moved to live with an aunt in New Jersey, those hearings didn't happen. So those kids remained in foster care. And also, having not had, when judges are not able to have these cases in front of them, it makes it much more difficult for judges to hold the agencies accountable and to make sure that the kids are really getting their needs met while they're in foster care. So we have a lot of concerns about the ability of, the agencies in the foster care system in general to make sure that kids' needs are being met and their parents' needs are being met during this pandemic.
Yeah, adoption is a major thing that goes on frequently, but talk to us about how adoption cases are being handled, given the fact that we are where we are today with this pandemic.
Sure. I mean, I think it's, again, when a child is in foster care, and I'm really speaking about the foster care system as opposed to private adoptions, but when a child is in foster care, once they have been freed for adoption, there's a legal process and it takes some time. And in many cases, those hearings for adoption have been adjourned. So I know that in 2020, for the 10 months that we have information on, we've seen a great decline in the numbers of kids who've been adopted, as well as the number of kids who've been reunified with their parents. The process is just taking a lot longer. Hopefully those, adoptive parents aren't going away, but every day or year that a child remains in foster care, as opposed to being in a permanent home, that can have long-term impacts on that child's development.
Yeah, there've been a lot of myths and stereotypes that have always been associated, excuse me, when it comes to foster care. Share with us a little bit about some of those myths and those stereotypes, and if we could try to debunk a couple of those now.
Sure. I mean, I think the most important thing and the biggest stereotype is the idea that children in foster care have always been abused and that their parents have abused them, and that's why they're in foster care. The vast majority of the time when a child comes into foster care, it's on an allegation of neglect. And that allegation of neglect often has to do with one of four main things: either deep poverty, so an inability to provide materially for the child, substance abuse, intimate partner violence, or mental health concerns. And so often those allegations of neglect are not necessarily things that mean that a parent has not cared for their child the best they can. Often those parents have experienced a tremendous amount of trauma. And what should happen is that we as a system are providing those parents the support that they need so that they can care for their children. I think that the other really important thing to be aware of is that the system, there's a great deal of disproportionality in the foster care system. About 26% of the kids in New York City are Black, and nearly 60% of the kids in the foster care system are Black. So children are removed from their parents often for a number of reasons, but that in cases where if it was a middle-class white parent, they wouldn't necessarily be removed. So it's really important that we focus on that and focus on giving those families who are struggling, particularly during this pandemic, the resources that they need to keep their families safe and together.
I want you to share with us a little bit about doing some volunteer work as a volunteer advocate. That's what we started talking about. How are people actually can participate in becoming a volunteer advocate? Because I know that's something that you're looking for as well.
Absolutely. So if people are interested in becoming an advocate, it is a volunteer advocate with CASA is a serious commitment. First of all, you're required to go through 35 hours of training, and we ask you to make a 2-year commitment. You can go on our website at casa-nyc.org to fill out an application and learn more about the process. We are very fortunate at CASA NYC in that we have a lot of people stepping forward to be volunteers. And we actually, at this moment, have a number of people on a wait list because we have people volunteering faster than we can train them. However, we are really recruiting and targeting people who come from the communities that the children and families we serve come from. So we're looking to recruit volunteers who are people of color, who come from the Bronx. I know we're talking to a largely Bronx audience, who come from communities where our families come from, and who can relate to the children, relate to their circumstances, understand the challenges that they're facing, so they might be better able to help them through this process and help those families find safety and stability.
Right. So you said it's about a 35-hour training?
It's 35 hours of training. Yep.
And then you said, in addition to that, it's a 2-year commitment.
Yes, we ask for a two-year commitment. And most importantly, we ask people to serve on a case for the life of the case. Typically, a volunteer is assigned to 1 or 2 cases at a time. But once you've established a relationship with a child or a family member, we don't want that person to go away. One of the biggest challenges in the child welfare system is turnover of caseworkers. So often the CASA volunteer is the person who is able to have the most long-term relationship with that child and with that family. And that's really important to give them a sense of stability.
Yeah. Well, you're making a difference. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Glad to have you with us. Kerry Moles, our guest here on Open. I want you to stay with us. Listen, now, if you want more information, you can visit their website, casanyc.org. Again, casanyc.org. Also follow them on Facebook at Casa NYC. Encourage you, please don't go anywhere. We still have more show. Open will return right after this.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently, learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
And welcome back to the show. The Riverdale Senior Services is a not-for-profit agency that actually focuses on providing assistance to older adults and their families through their wellness approach. And since the beginning of the pandemic, the organization has responded to the changing needs and interests of the senior population of the Northwest Bronx with a focus on programs and activities enhancing physical and mental health support, as well as lifelong learning, as well as promoting social interaction. And joining us now to tell us a little bit more and provide further insight is the Executive Director of Riverdale Senior Services, Julie Dalton. And Julie, glad to have you back here on the show.
Good morning, Daren. Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be with you and your viewers today.
Yeah, on this snowy week, I mean, obviously, we are all homebound, most of us, because of COVID anyway. But then if not, we would definitely be indoors because of this snowstorm. Talk to us a little bit about how you're seeing seniors navigate this period of social isolation in the midst of the pandemic.
Yes, it's certainly quite a challenge for us. Since the pandemic, and we like to say that we are still thriving. We have challenges, but we are thriving, even though our physical doors are closed. So we quickly pivoted from mid-March to do virtual programs. So we now do over 50 virtual programs every month, because we know that the effects of social isolation as this pandemic continues really has a detrimental effect on older adults and on everyone, but on older adults in particular. It can lead to depression, anxiety, poor nutrition. So our staff, since mid-March, I'm very proud to say, have made over 13,000, they'll say I'm fibbing, 13,000 wellness checks via phone to our clients in the Northwest Bronx and their families. So we do whatever we can to keep our members connected and engaged. And one of the things that we've just started in January, we now are offering weekend programming, because many of our clients had said to us, we miss you on Saturdays and Sundays. So now we're offering also virtual programs on the weekend.
So for most people, we we're all navigating in our own kind of way. And there are challenges out there. Talk to us about maybe what we're not so familiar with amongst our senior population with the challenges that they're facing.
I think you can say that as the pandemic continues, the forms that anxiety and worry take on a new kind of tone, if you will. And as we go longer, not being able to be with your friends in person, that's very difficult. Also, I think, I know for us at RSS Riverdale Senior Services, 2020 was difficult in that we lost to death and passing and to COVID, close to 40 individuals. We're a family, and that makes a big impact on people. I think also not only in terms of loss and grief of losing a friend or a neighbor, there's also what can sometimes be called an ambiguous type of loss. It's the loss of your schedule. It's the loss of your routine. It's the loss of coming to the center and having lunch with your friends. So over time, this type of loss, if people don't have an opportunity to express that, it does take a toll. So our social workers provide individual and group support groups. These are on the phone and virtually, because again, giving someone, an older adult, an opportunity to talk out these feelings is very important. The other thing that we've noticed is that some people who were very independent, food secure, active, going to concerts, to the theater, to museums, now because of COVID, are really sheltering in place, and that's a new reality for them. So again, that's a change in routine, and so many of our members and clients tell us that they miss the center and the in-person activities, because we know our center is a lifeline for people. So our goal is to continue to be that lifeline, even though we need to do it virtually and also through phone calls.
Yeah, and you hit on one major topic that I want to talk about, which was food insecurity. People who you said were food secure are now becoming food insecure. And we know that that's huge across New York City. It's huge across the state and honestly across the country. How are you addressing that issue of food insecurity? And give us a little bit more about what you're hearing.
Yes, absolutely. Because again, someone who used to be able to go shopping and get their food now can't do that. Also,
Right.
we're seeing more and more people that are out of work. Many of our clients have adult children that they live with, and the adult child is out of work. So we're very proud that we have a year-old initiative called the Northwest Bronx Food Justice Project, because we see food equity as a justice issue. And again, we always knew that food insecurity was an issue in our community, but the pandemic really just highlighted the need. So one of the things that we've done is we've established a temporary emergency food pantry at St. Stephen's United Methodist Church. We're also working and have put together a coalition of a number of other community stakeholders, including KHCC, Kingsbridge Heights Community Center, Outer Sea Shadow, and a whole host of other organizations, including clergy coalitions and other nonprofits, because we know that we are stronger in working on this issue when we work with our other nonprofit providers in the community. So again, our goal is to get food into people's tables and to really support the food pantries. And one of our goals is we just wrote a grant to be able to increase the days of operation for our food pantry.
Yeah. I want to go to talk about the topic of the vaccine. A lot of people are really excited about the fact that the vaccine is making its way, particularly as the governor has announced his initiative to try to get the most vulnerable populations to be vaccinated, that being seniors. Talk to us about what you're hearing and what you've experienced with the vaccination.
Yes, that's the top of mind issue today. Some of our, some older adults have expressed what we in the field are calling vaccine hesitancy. They're not sure if they should get it. They're afraid. Some are saying no. So again, our role is to provide information and encouragement. Obviously, we also empower older adults to make a decision for themselves. So one thing that we're doing, our website has a whole host of information and resources about the vaccine right on our homepage. rssny.org. But also this Thursday at 5 p.m., we are hosting a virtual talk why getting the vaccine is important with someone from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and New York Presbyterian. The other issue is we know that the rollout has been challenging to say the least. So again, we do the best we can to support people in getting an appointment. We do like to say to them, be patient. This is just rolling out. There are difficulties. Sometimes it's getting an appointment. Sometimes there's no supply. I'm thinking of all the people today as we're recording this, the huge snowstorm, obviously appointments were canceled, but we're there to support people. And I think, the more information someone has, I think the better off they'll be. And again, I think we encourage people to get the vaccine. And I think it's like in a way, it's like when we tell people, oh, you really need to get your flu shot. So again, we are there to support people and help them navigate the systems and give them the information they need.
Yeah, Julie, thank you so much for being with us here on Open. We want to thank you and the great work that you're doing with seniors. We know that this vaccination is very important, particularly for seniors, and also that issue of food insecurity. So hopefully people will be a part of that virtual gathering and learn more information. Great to have you back on the show.
Oh, thank you, Daren, and you stay safe and well today.
Stay safe and you stay warm. How about that?
I will.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Julie Dalton, our guest here. Now, listen, if you want more information, don't hesitate. Visit them on their website. The website, rssny.org. Again, rssny.org. Want you to stay with us. We got more Open coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back right after this. And welcome back to the show. Well, if you don't know, today, February the 3rd, is a very special day. It's a holiday, a very special holiday. It's actually National Carrot Cake Day. And we want to celebrate a staple bakery that's right here in the borough of the Bronx, who's bringing us carrot cake for God knows how long, and it's good as well. For over 30 years, Lloyd's Carrot Cake has supplied arguably the best carrot cake ever, made in addition to a series of other delicious cakes, as well as pies and muffins. Now today, the bakery churns out over 1,500 cakes a day. As the pandemic gripped New York, many restaurants and businesses were affected and suffered unforeseen closures. Although during this time, the shop has managed to stay open and be busier even than ever. Recently, of course, as you watched here on Bronx, that we bought you the homegoing services of Betty Campbell Adams, the owner of Lloyd's Carrot Cake. But right now, we're pleased to be joined by the new owner of Lloyd's Carrot Cake, Brandon Adams. And Brandon, good to have you here on Open.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
First of all, of course, as I said privately, and I'll say publicly again, our condolences to you and the family. How you guys doing?
It's been tough. It's definitely been challenging, but we're just taking it a day at a time. We have a strong support system between me and my sister and our other family. And obviously the larger community, the Lloyd's Carrot Cake community, the Bronx community, the New York City community, they really rallied behind us and showed us so much love and support. So we're eternally grateful and thankful for all the love, support, and prayers that we've received.
Yeah. And I mean, today is National Carrot Cake Day and you're out there on the road. I mean, the snow is going. I mean, we're trying to navigate the snowstorm here, but you're still out there getting these cakes out there. Talk to us about today and really about what it means for National Carrot Cake Day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very special day for us, a day that's near and dear to our heart. It wasn't too many years ago that we found out that there was a holiday for carrot cake, and we kind of started rallying around it and trying to get people behind it because it's our staple product and it's our marquee product, and we want to continue to share it with the world. It's something that my father kind of brought to life through a recipe from his grandmother that he kind of tweaked. And 35 years later, we're here with this business that's just continued to grow. And it really is centered around our marquee product, which is the carrot cake. So on this day, we really want to get as many people to try it as possible if they haven't tried it yet. And for those that love it, enjoy yourself a slice or a whole cake, whatever it may be, and celebrate the holiday with us.
Yeah. What's it been like for you? I mean, I've been asking people throughout the course of the whole show, like navigating COVID-19 as a business. We know this, a lot of businesses have been shut down. What's it been like for you in the business?
We've been really blessed, honestly. Like we're one of the New York institutions that we never really had to close our doors. Obviously we did take somewhat of a hit, but things could have been a lot worse. We still employ all of our staff, which is good. We're able to pay people weekly. We did lose a little bit of our client base, because some restaurants did close with COVID, but overall, we could be in a lot worse position. And, outside of how 2020 ended with such a tragedy, outside of that, we were really blessed to make it through the year the way that we did. And we're hoping to continue that growth into 2021.
Yeah. Are you optimistic? I mean, given the fact that we are seeing soft openings, the governor, of course, telling us that about 25% will be the occupancy now for restaurants. They can at least be able to reopen their doors. Are you hoping that and optimistic that things will get back to a better position real soon?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely hopeful. I want to make sure that safety is paramount and the priority. But hopeful that things will return to some sense of normalcy soon. And hopefully we can continue to serve the community that has rallied behind us and that supported us for so many years.
Yeah. So for somebody who doesn't know about carrot cake, give us the scoop. What makes the carrot cake real good?
Well, what makes our carrot cakes so good is we start with just carrots. I mean, loads and loads of carrots. So, we have fresh carrots that we grind up twice and become grated carrots. And the carrot juice makes it so moist and sweet. And then on top of which, there's also a special batch of a spice mix that gives it that real flavor that people love. And then, we top it all off with our signature cream cheese frosting, which is just, honestly, it's just addictive, if I'm being honest. But
it is.
But it's a fan favorite. And if you haven't tried it yet, do yourself a favor, get yourself a piece. We are on Goldbelly, we're on Grubhub, Uber Eats. So even in the snowstorm, you can find yourself a slice and stay warm. And it goes great with coffee, tea, ice cream. It's a fan favorite.
Yeah. When did you come into the knowledge that you had something special going on?
Well, I kind of grew up in this business with my sister. So watching my parents just work and seeing this thing grow throughout the entirety of my life has just been kind of eye-opening, and then sometimes you just get certain reactions, like I'll give it to a friend and you'll have them try it, and like their eyes will just open up, like, oh my goodness, what is this and where has it been all of my life? And then also just to see a lot of the just reception that we've gotten from so much media, whether it be Bronx Net, the New York Times, the Daily News, Wall Street Journal. We were just in Bon Appetit last month, the Food Network, Zagat. So even just to see these, these staples of that are food critics, give us such rave reviews out of something that started in, the basement of my parents' apartment. Like it's really touching, and it really has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. Before we go, as the mantle has now been shifted, talk to us a little bit about your goals and what you'd like to see happen.
My sister and I are kind of just really trying to focus on fortifying the business that we have. Because losing my mom has been so tough just on us personally as a family. But in terms of as a business, like that was such a hole that there's a big hole in the business right now, because she was the cornerstone of the business. Not only was she handling, business operations, management, dealing with wholesale staff, she was also doing baking. So those are a lot of holes that we need to fill. So that's our main focus right now for like the first quarter of the year. But, as we get our footing, because we're still kind of learning, although we both grew up within the business, we both have full-time jobs, or I should say had a full-time job, and my sister's still working full-time as well. So we're trying to, just get a handle on things. But then, once we get our footing, we really want to continue to grow organically, and make sure that we're reaching that growth that we've been seeing over the last 5 years or so, because I think at this point our parents wouldn't just want us to stay in place, but to continue to grow the legacy that that they work so hard towards.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for being with us here, man. Best wishes to you. Today is National Carrot Cake Day. We salute you today, but we also salute you every day, and your family, for the great work and being the staple that you've been in the borough of the Bronx, of course, across New York City. Thanks, and happy Carrot Cake Day.
Thank you so much, Daren. You grab yourself a slice and enjoy, all right?
I will, brother. I will. We'll be in touch real soon.
Sounds good. Take care, bro.
All right, Brandon Adams, our guest here on Open. If you want more information about National Carrot Cake Day, of course, we encourage you to stay connected to us here at Open. And then also, if you want to find out more about them, you can also visit their website and also visit their store. Follow them on social media at Lloyd's Carrot Cake, and then you can get all the information there. Listen, take a quick break. We got more show. We'll be right back right after this. And welcome back. At Bronx Community College, at the Office of Veteran and Military Resources, provides services for veterans, current service members, and their dependents who are enrolled. The office takes a proactive approach in actually assisting student veterans, introducing them to the resources they need to be successful from college application all the way up to graduation. Well, what can interested members expect once getting enrolled? Here now to share a little bit more is the coordinator of the Veteran and Military Resources at Bronx Community College, Rosa. And we're also being joined by Bronx Community College veteran alum and current New York University MBA student, Nick Gradowski. And thank you so much for joining us both.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
John, I'll let you start off and give us a little bit more of an introduction into this program. Obviously, a program that benefits those who are in the military and veterans.
Well, we're in office. We're in the low hall building when the school is actually open, because right now we're doing everything remotely. But under normal circumstances, students usually reach out to the office as incoming students, either as freshmen or transfer. We deal with the admissions office, so we get those applications and we help the students file for financial aid and also finish up their admissions application. We request their DD-214s, their high school diplomas, their high school transcripts, their college transcripts from many other colleges that they usually go to, because they have the ability of going to college while they are in the military, and their JST, their Joint Service Transcripts, which is basically their military transcripts. And all of this is then submitted to us, and then we work with the admissions office. So that's one phase. And once they're in the school, then they usually sit down with me so that we can figure out what benefit they're eligible for. Usually for veterans, it's Chapter 33, which is right now the Forever GI Bill. And those individuals then get to file a certificate form, which is authorizing us, the college, to request the benefits in their name. And then the student sits down with me for a discussion of what major it is that they want, because we have a variety of different majors. We have the AA, which is Associates of Arts, the AS, which is Associates of Science, and then we have the AAS, which is Associates of Applied Sciences, and even certificate programs. So we kind of go for about an hour trying to go back and forth to figure out what their future goals are, so that I can kind of like determine with them what it is that they're going to be doing with us at Bronx. Then we also help them with financial aid, like I stated before. And then I go over all the different benefits that the college has. We have the personal counseling department, which is right upstairs. We have the lounge, which is right across from my office, and they have coffee, they have computers that they have access to. They have a smart board, and they usually watch Netflix and stuff to, between classes. So there's a lot of different services that we have on campus. I mean, but that's the initial introduction to the school. So they kind of feel a little comfortable. Once they're at the school, where to go to, kind of meet other individuals that are at the lounge, and that way they initiate, they have a good feeling about us at the beginning, and that's
Right.
how it starts.
Let me get Nick in and talk to him about. Nick, you were a participant in the program. Talk to us about why you chose this program and why you felt it was so beneficial to you.
Yeah, so when I first started at BCC, this was in 2016, I had just ETS'd. It was actually under Betsy Bonton as the prior director there. So I wasn't there at John's inception. I was actually called for deployment while I was in school in mid 2017. But I chose BCC because it was close to me, first of all, so that's convenient, but also they had good staff. I had heard, and I look up all my professors before I take any classes. There were good reviews, and I saw this as a good stepping stone to get me through my undergraduate degree and get me focused on my graduate studies.
Yeah. John, when you talk about people like Nick, I mean, obviously finding that right fit is important. And he talks about literally having somebody in his camp that basically understands where he's been. How much does that mean to those who've been in the service?
Most military individuals, like I'm also a veteran, only 4 years. Nick was there quite a longer time, and I was much younger when I joined right after high school. But when you come out, there's this feeling that time stood still and it went by. I mean, you stood still and time went by, because you come back and the music is different. Your friends you may be different also, and the friends that you had may not understand you, because you may have experienced a lot of different difficulties and challenges while you were there, and you grew. So now you're trying to find your way in the civilian world. And then once you find that you want to go to school and you go to college, you see that there are a lot of other veterans in a similar situation as you, that bonding, that whole we work together thing that you learn, I guess, from boot camp. You see that in everyone that's in that lounge, because they all went through it just like you did. And you are all acknowledge each other's experience, because not everyone goes through the same experiences once you're in there, but you kind of understand what the other person is going through, and that transition back into the civilian world. It's good to know that someone else went through that process and is going it through with you, and that you help each other out. So it's a place so that they can talk. They could make fun of each other a little bit, because the veterans kind of do that, but that's part of the culture. But it's done in a nice way. It's not done in a mean spirited way, even though outsiders may see it that way. But we're really just making fun of each other, having a good time. So they feel that camaraderie that they had in the military right in that lounge. So that makes them want to stay in the school a little longer.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Nick, how easy was it for you to make that transition back into civilian life? And talk to us a little bit about how the program really helped you in that way.
Yeah, well, I guess to kind of get an understanding, I graduated high school in 2006, and I went over to BMCC right after, and I was not ready for that. I was kind of just more focused on having fun, kind of just doing my own thing. And needless to say, I did not do very well at my first attempt at college. So I ended up joining the military. That went well. But I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in nursing. I was a medic when I was in the Army, and I enjoyed that thoroughly. But I also always had kind of a passion for business, finance, just strategic business relations. And so I went into liberal arts at BMCC. I mean at BCC, and I found that it was just so much easier, especially when you're doing it with students and colleagues who are kind of from the same cloth. And it was just all around. I mean, this sounds kind of cliche. It was just really supportive, and I felt very comfortable there. And I think that's probably one of the bigger facts, or one of the bigger factors of whether a student succeeds or not. That's a pretty big indicator of whether a student will succeed, is if he feels supported. And I felt completely supported at the program there.
Yeah. John, we got a little under 2 minutes, but I want to get an opportunity to hear from you about students right now or somebody that can potentially want to be a part of the program. What do they have to do and what's their eligibility requirements?
Anyone could apply to the BCC. I mean, as long as you have a GED or a high school diploma, you're accepted into the campus. So that's the first thing. The second thing is obviously in our student population, they have to be a veteran or a dependent or a spouse of a veteran. Those are called Chapter 35 beneficiaries. Those are people who have their father or mother's benefits, or husband or wife. The Chapter 33 of veterans, those are people who were discharged or dishonorably discharged from the military. That's Chapter 33, what we call now the Forever GI Bill. And even Chapter 31, which is vocational rehab. And they would identify themselves on the application. That's the most important thing, so that we can find them out of all the hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants who try to come into the City University of New York, because Bronx Community College is part of the City University of New York. And then the second part that I would say would be reaching out to our office via email right now. Usually they give us a phone call and call up the office. But right now, the best way of communicating with us is by email. And they could, my email is john.rosa@bcc.cuny.edu. And just send me an email introducing themselves. And then that way I would take it on from there and introduce myself and the office and the services. And it's really that simple. And then once that conversation starts, then we would start finding out what it is that the individual really wants to do, why they apply to college, what are their future ambitions. Because some students want to go to school just for the 2-year level and then go to work. Some students want to go to 2-year school and then transfer over to a 4-year school. And then they even want to go to a master's degree, which is what Nick is doing right now. So everyone has a different pathway that they want to take. And that's where that conversation comes in. It's important to understand what they want, because I have to meet them where they are. And once I get an idea of who that person is, what their experiences are, then we can move on together. And they feel that, you know, I'm on their side and we're a team and I know what I'm talking about. And then hopefully that will make them feel comfortable so that they could open up and also share other things that are going on, because it's not just all academic, it's also the personal individual situations that they're going through, and you don't open up about that just to anybody. And once that confidence is there, hopefully there's a feeling that, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about, he cares about us, and then that slowly starts evolving into a relationship. And then the whole point is to have them succeed. That's really, if they succeed, we succeed. And that's really the most important part.
Absolutely. We understand that teamwork makes the dream work. And John, thank you so much for being with us. Nick, thank you so much for being with us and sharing as well. And best wishes as you continue to go forward.
Take care, guys. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. And I want to make sure now, if you want more information, please don't hesitate to go to the Bronx Community College website. There you can find out more information about this program and a whole lot more. Stay with us. We got more on this program. We're not going anywhere. Open continues right after this. And welcome back to the show. Project Renewal is a New York City-based leading not-for-profit organization with the mission of ending the cycle of homelessness by empowering individuals and families to renew their lives with health, jobs, as well as homes. Project Renewal's comprehensive and integrated 24/7 programs are designed to end the revolving door of emergency rooms, jails, shelters, as well as city streets. Now, with a staff of over 900 people and an annual budget of $82 million, Project Renewal is one of the largest social service not-for-profits in New York City. And here now to share a little bit more about Project Renewal is the manager of the Mobile Medical Division. And we welcome Jermaine Pope. And Jermaine, good to have you here.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And so for those that may not be so familiar, give us a little insight and share with us a little bit about the organization.
Well, Project Renewal is a organization that, like you said, not-for-profit organization that does provide job training, housing, and healthcare to over 16,000 homeless and at-risk New Yorkers every year. My part of that is the mobile healthcare unit. We have vehicles that go out and service the community to provide healthcare to this at-risk community all over the 5 boroughs of New York City.
So a little bit more about the mobile vans. So they travel around the city, of course.
Yes.
Talk to us about the target population and the services they provide.
Okay, so we target, like we said, the homeless and at-risk communities, and we go across all 5 boroughs. And what we do provide is primary care, just like your normal doctor's visits that you would take on yourselves, or you with your family, you would go to the doctor just to check on your colds or get your vaccinations. That's what we do on the mobile health, on the mobile health vehicles every day. So those are primary care vehicles, and we also have a scan van, which is a radiology vehicle, which provides free mammograms to women across the city, across all 5 boroughs of the city as well. They go around and take care of that at-risk population as well.
How have things been working given the fact that we are navigating still COVID-19? How's it been working for your organization?
It's, as you can imagine, it's been a challenge. I think it's been a challenge for every organization out there, especially in a global pandemic, which nobody has ever been in before in history. So in our time anyway, but we have not stopped working since the pandemic started. So we have been out there reaching out to the community and being partners with our community outreach partners as well, going out there and trying to reach this community, trying to get everyone who is at risk to know what their health baselines are, and know that what options they are of getting tested for COVID-19, what options there are for COVID-19 vaccinations. We're out there really heavily educating people and educating this community, and making sure that anyone with underlying conditions is being seen by us and being taken care of on a daily basis, because that is really the crux of where COVID-19 really affects this community. If you have like underlying conditions such as diabetes or hypertension, COVID-19 is really, really hard on you, especially so. And we know that the homeless and anyone who's at risk in this community, they are at risk for catching COVID-19, and any other underlying condition would make that COVID-19 diagnosis that much worse. So we're out there making sure that people are getting their medications, making sure people are getting tested, and make sure people are getting the medical care that they need every day.
Yeah, and when you talk about those COVID-like symptoms, obviously, a lot of people are struggling with that. I know your mobile van also travels to deal with people who are dealing with the COVID-like symptoms.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have a process when we deal with that. So we do see people with COVID-19 like symptoms. Initially, when COVID first got on our radar in New York City, there was a seriously high uptick of people that had COVID-19 symptoms, and that kind of cross brands with other conditions as well. So we had to kind of pare it down. So we said, anyone who has fevers, who has chest pain and cannot breathe, we need to get them to the hospital immediately. So we paired up, and we made sure that with our sites that we go to, we made sure that we got people who had those multiple symptoms, get them to the hospital, get them to EMS, and get them treated as soon as possible.
Yeah. The vulnerable population is the homeless, of course. We know those who are in communities of color sometimes are the most vulnerable populations as well. Homeless, and then you got 65 and up. How's it been for you really being able to reach this vulnerable population and having access to really get to these people during this time?
Well, I can't say it's been tough, but it's been a challenge. Again, we have great community partners that we work with, and we know that in certain areas of the city, we know that we're going to reach a good portion of people who are at risk and people who need help, and especially the homeless people. So we know that we're going to reach them, but the challenge is getting them to be comfortable, getting on our van and telling us, what's going on with them. And that's a challenge. So it's important for us to be there every day. And that's one of the main things that we stress, is that we're there every day. As part of my role is to make sure that these vehicles are on the road every day, being at these sites, and that we are a recognizable force out there, and that they know that we're their help. So once we break those barriers, that they know we're there to help them and not there to harm them, and not there to create some type of test on them or be some type of outside force that's going to hurt them. Once they know that we're there to help them, then we can delve into their issues, and they can tell us whether or not they're diabetic, and if they're taking their insulin, if they need insulin, and they can come to us weekly, daily, and get their insulin if they need that, or if they have hypertension and they need that blood pressure medication. So when they come to us and we have broken down those barriers, then now they can come see us about those issues that they deal with on the daily basis. Because as you know, when you're homeless and when you're at risk, you don't know where your next meal is coming from, now, regardless of your next doctor visit, or when you're going to get that next bit of medication that you need, or that insulin shot that you need. So we play a very vital role in making sure that this community gets the medication that they need on a weekly and daily basis, so that they don't have to go reach out to ERs and stay stuck in the ER for 10, 12 hours. They can come to us and see us, and we'll take care of them, and we can alleviate some of that pressure in the emergency rooms, and alleviate some of that pressure on the nurses and doctors there as well, and alleviate some of the fear that this community has in reaching out to people and trying to get help because they've been rejected and neglected for so long. So now that they know that there's a force that's out there helping them, so they know that we're there for them.
Yeah, we know that when it comes to healthcare, that there is a disproportionate number in terms of statistics, and statistics heavily, there's a segregation, if you will. We know that when it comes to communities of color, they're last sometimes in the field of healthcare, and trust is a hard thing to kind of build. Give us a little bit about that trust. You spoke a little bit about that earlier, about building that trust and how much it takes to build that trust, so that way you can have these conversations and give people the services that they really need.
That is a big component of what we do. So on our vehicles, we do have outreach staff, right? So we have our outreach staff and some of our drivers and some of our providers. We go outside of our vehicle too. We just don't pull up to locations and just sit in the van and wait to see if somebody knocks. We actually go out and engage with the community, and we engage with people who are with our community partners and with people who are outside on the street if necessary, or on a soup kitchen line. And we go out and we speak to them. We let them know what our services are. And I think one of the biggest components of that is just letting people know we're always going to be there. So if we're going to be at a certain location on a Tuesday at 9 a.m., we're going to be there every Tuesday at 9 a.m. And we're going to have the same message. We're not going to change messages. We're not going to flip-flop. No matter who you're dealing with, we're going to let people know, hey, we're here to help you. This is a service here that you can utilize to get your medication, or to be seen, or to get a vaccination, or to answer any questions that you may have. Hey, matter of fact, if you just want to get on and have a conversation with us, sure, if we have time to have a 5-minute, 10-minute conversation with you, we will do that, just to break down those barriers, because it's really, really hard for someone who's at risk, or someone who's been homeless, especially long term. It's really hard for them to trust some of the social services that exist out there. Sometimes they believe, sometimes they don't believe, sometimes they think it's just a temporary fix, and this is just going to go away. But we believe in going out there and being consistent every week, every day, as much as we can, to be out there and let this community know that we're here for them.
Yeah. Jermaine Pope, who is the fleet manager of the Mobile Medical Division at Project Renewal. Thank you so much for being with us, Jermaine.
Appreciate that, Daren. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, keep hitting the streets, brother. Keep hitting the streets. Thanks much. Listen, want to let you know, for more information, you can visit their website at projectrenewal.org. Once again, projectrenewal.org. Also follow them on Facebook and Twitter at Project Renewal. All right, well, we've come to the end of our show today. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us, but most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, as always, you can catch the Recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 2133, or anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. For all of us here on the show Open, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay warm, but most of all, keep this channel wide open. Daren Jaime saying take care. And God bless.